Hey again, this is Dr. Nicholas Neaves and welcome to the Relationship Blueprint, where I guide you through the complexities of modern relationships in these meditations using practical strategies, compassionate insights, and I hope to bring the years of my therapeutic experience here to these videos also. These meditations are designed to help give you a blueprint to what secure relating is all about. Navigating your dynamic with your partner or friends or loved ones can often be very complex. So having a blueprint that you can listen to on repeat and go back to just to help you understand what would be the secure way of understanding things, or what secure relating is all about, is often what we need modeled to us. We don't often have that modeled in our upbringings and other relationships too, so welcome. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how the secure person relates to somebody with an avoidant attachment style. And so to start with, let's just understand that a secure person in a relationship will operate from a foundation. They have a blueprint, an architecture within themselves, so to speak, of what we call emotional regulation. So this means that they are self-aware enough to understand what their internal neurological arousal is giving them feedback on with regards to stress in their lives, whether that stress is coming from themselves or outside in the environment or with the person, and they know the difference between an internally aggravated situation or an externally aggravated situation. But more importantly is they have that self-awareness to bring themselves back to a regulated place. When we are dysregulated, our brains flood in all the sympathetic nervous hormones, and we are activating our threat responses, and so we actually lose our empathy, we lose our ability to reason, to hear the other person, and we literally see the other person as a potential enemy because of the high threat, because we're dysregulated. In other words, we have reached that point of no return. If it were a measurement out of 10, we're at a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, and so we are dysregulated. And so we go into our different ways of coping to create space so that we are able to reconnect with ourselves and understand where we are with things. So a secure person gets that, and they understand before they get to that point of 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 what's going inside of themselves. Okay, so they trust their responsiveness to themselves and to other people. That's very important. They communicate with themselves internally by having self-compassion to gently understand what's happening inside, to get a sense of what's going on with that self-awareness, and to be able to compute that into data and information. It's a very important step as to the location of their heart, so to speak, or the location of the feelings within themselves, meaning they are taking accountability and they have the tools to be able to recognize that internal environment. Absolutely crucial. And then of course then they can go to their partner and they can communicate effectively, because now they know what tools are coming out of the toolbox, let's say, and this creates clarity, and they communicate effectively while standing their ground, because they also have that sense of self that is quite good and full, or let's say full enough to be able to sustain any sense of that partner moving away from them or rejecting them or criticizing them or whatever it may be. That cup of theirs is full enough with self-regard, self-worth, self-esteem, etc., that they're not reliant on the other person to make them feel okay. So a secure person understands that they are okay, regardless of whether the person outside there is okay or not okay. That's very important with secure relating. So secure people therefore have the skills to be able to use empathy because they're not getting to that stress point of 9 out of 10. So they use their empathy and emotional attunement to strengthen their bonds. Okay, and of course this is not a flawless process or relationship. They can make mistakes, but they have the ability to really express authentically just where they're at, even if it's about confusion, even if it's about not knowing. So they're not reaching that stress point where often, as I say, we get dysregulated or even shame is activated, which makes us hide and go secret and avoid, like very often with the avoidant type of person. And the secure people are not getting into that space that frequently, so their ability to stay open and emotionally available is better. Right, so having a look at that dynamic now, we can certainly understand why an avoidant person might reach stress levels sooner. With our example here of 1 out of 10, or 1 to 10, an avoidant person might only have the capacity of 1 to 5. So by the time they're on a 5 stress level, they are already dysregulated. And so they don't have that emotional capacity to stay in relating dynamics longer. So they avoid, right? Because they need to take space a lot more often. And so this is the dynamic that's at play. And it's why they struggle with closeness, because closeness and peopling and exchanging information and emotions and energy with people choose into that 1 to 5 capacity very much, and so they get to that 5 out of 5 very quickly, and so they're on that sort of area in their life where they're on guard always as to how much of that is left over. And so relating is risky, committing is risky, showing up is risky in any form or matter. Replying to a text is risky, okay, because it's going to mean it's going to chew into my internal resources, because their cup inside is not full. They didn't leave childhood with a nice full cup of self-esteem, self-awareness, self-love, etc. Okay, so this is the issue of neglect with a person, and it results in that decreased capacity to stay in relating for longer periods of time before they have to just check out. And they often check out in unhealthy ways by going silent, ghosting, or moving away, sabotaging the relationships. They'll do pretty much anything when they are that 5 out of 5 so that they can feel safe again. And so their behavior is very self-directed to get themselves to safety rather than considering the other person. So secure people get this. Secure people understand that if a bear is running after them, they're not going to worry too much about the people around them. They're going to get their own little ass out of dodge and into safety because there's a bear chasing them. So in that moment of the bear chasing me, I'm not going to even be communicating. I'm just going to be running to the nearest tree and getting up that tree. Now, secure people get that about the avoidant person. The avoidant person has that emotional dynamic of that bear chasing them all the time. And so they're not always available to have communication, to repair, and to be present and connect with their partners, because that bear, in inverted commas, is emotionally chasing them. A secure person gets this, right? So the avoidant person will often make statements like, I just need space right now, or why do we always have to talk about these things? Why do we have to always be so emotional? What are you on about? And they'll dismiss and they'll avoid and they will sabotage things and again create space, not show up on time, distance, that they can feel safe inside, okay? It's not that they don't care, guys. They do, but their response to closeness is often to pull away in order to self-regulate. That's the key. Securely attached people, on the other hand, remember, have that natural ability to stay grounded in emotional connections while respecting boundaries, okay? They very much know where their yes and their no is, because remember, they've got a full cup. So even if they say no, They're not fearing your rejection or movement away from them because they know their cup is already full. That's very key. With the avoidant, that cup is empty. Remember? Through neglect. So their little resource inside is limited. And so they can't understand where their yes or their no is. They're just constantly trying to get away. So boundaries aren't even a consideration. They're just looking for safety all the time. Okay, so let's then understand how a secure person could respond to their avoidant partner's behaviors. For example, that texting dilemma, you sent a message, a heartfelt message, perhaps even being vulnerable, and hours go by, right? And there's no response. Our anxious friends will become perhaps anxious, they'll get triggered, and they might spiral into self-doubt, sending follow-up texts, continually questioning things, are you mad at me, or why aren't you answering, etc., etc. And we'll address the anxious attachment in another video. But the securely attached person, however, would pause and recognize that their delay in responding isn't about me, okay? They might need time to process. They need that space because that level 5 out of 5 has been reached already. And so instead of pushing or chasing, the secure person might just follow up later with a calm message, something like, hey, I know you've got a lot going on, and I'm just checking in if you are okay, but I just wanted to also know at what time or place can we perhaps connect. I'd like to know when you would be ready to talk again. Right? This approach communicates care without pressure. That secure person is honoring themselves. They're not abandoning themselves. They're not singing to the tune of the avoidant or getting into an energetic rhythm similar to the avoidant and avoiding their own feelings. The secure person speaks up. Okay? And so they make statements like, I can see this is a lot right now. Let's take a break and we can come back to it when you're ready, giving the other person space, allowing that person distance to regulate. Okay, because by doing this, the secure person creates that sense of safety for the avoidant partner. That's the key. They show that it's okay to take space without any fear of judgment or abandonment. Again, it's that beautiful love that can be on offer, but with healthy, clear boundaries. The secure person's secret, as we've said, is self-regulation, right? What this allows that secure person to handle is stress, and to calmly come down to a point of being regulated. Secure individuals don't rely on their partner's behavior to feel okay. That's so key. They do not rely on behaviors or statements, communication from their partner to be okay, because they have that solid sense of self. Okay, so they manage their emotions independently, and they set boundaries in a healthy way of what they feel is okay or not okay, and they offer understanding to their partner without sacrificing their own needs. Okay, here's a good example. The avoidant partner, if they constantly avoid deep conversations, a secure person might say, I understand that opening up is hard for you. At the same time, emotional connection is important to me. How can we find a middle ground? Can you see how this invites collaboration rather than blame? Okay, it's stating, I get you, I understand that this is hard for you, but also at the same time, I'm having this experience, and my need is emotional connection, and with you, I want to find a middle ground. Okay, so if I need, let's say, 6 of something, and you only want 4 of something, we need to find our way to the 5. That's what a secure person's going to be after. Okay, so secure people build these bridges through communication. They make these I statements, and they experience that internal world very clearly, so they can communicate their feeling. For example, I feel distant when we don't talk about what's going on. I'd love to hear your thoughts when you're ready. Okay, that comes from a very secure and self-aware place, and it keeps the conversation focused on feelings that are authentic rather than the faults and blaming and becoming insecure. The secure person will also respect the avoidance need for space, but will not let it become so far out of reach that, again, they're not getting their needs met. So the secure person will say things like, it's okay, take the time you need, I'm here when you're ready to connect. I need some time alone also, and would appreciate this time to self-reflect. I'm available to speak when you are. Right? Again, it's very reassuring and shows respect as well. Guys, here's the good news. Avoidantly attached people do want connection. They just approach it really differently. When they do finally reach out, a secure person responds with warmth and openness rather than resentment for the time it took. A good example would be, let's have a look and see how we can do this differently next time. I really have missed you, but I'm glad you're back. And if you're open to it, I'd love to hear what's happened for you. It's important for me to hear that so that I can understand what's been going on and we are on the same page again. And that would be another good response to that person. And these responses again foster that bond. It's good clear language use and creates that safety. Look, it's important, clearly, as I'm sure you're all thinking, the secure person can't just keep going along with the avoidance behavior. So it doesn't mean endlessly tolerating these behaviors. And the good news with a secure person is they know when to set limits. A secure person can say, I understand you need space during arguments, but I also need resolution. How can we work on this together? There's the balance again, and the understanding, but also showing the self-respect. So secure people relate to avoidant partners with compassion and respect and love, but at the same time they first offer those components to themselves, and so make sure that their cup is nice and full when engaging with these people. And secure people have a very clear idea of what their needs are, what values need to be met in a relationship, and will certainly give some time to the avoidant person to hopefully show up and meet them in a more balanced place in the relationship. If this is not what happens after a specific timeline is met, then the secure person will speak up and mention that this is not for them and will leave that relationship. Why? Because remember, the secure person has that full cup. So guys, this is there to hopefully inspire you to make your cups full, to remember that you matter and that you are an acceptable person, that you have those qualities within you that add value to life and to people around you. You have to keep affirming that within yourself to grow your self-esteem and self-worth, so that when it comes to relating, you're very clear with what it is that you are able to put up with and not put up with, but from a very empathetic and loving space. Any questions, please leave those below. Thank you for being here. This is a very deep and complex and often long topic. This video hopefully has shared some insights and will give you some way forward in how you can relate and understand the secure relating style. So please take care. Thank you for watching, and remember, healthy relationships are always a work in progress, but they're certainly worth it. Goodbye.